Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at some pitching for today, the 29th of April, Monday, a 9-game main slate. From my understanding, no weather to worry about on the main slate this evening. Not a ton of slam dunk options overall. From both an offensive and pitching standpoint. So it should be a pretty interesting slate for us this evening. A reminder, this is a first look at the pitching options. We'll go more in depth as the day goes on and share my thoughts with the DFS Army members. And I will be looking at DraftKings because that is where a majority of my play is. For FanDuel, as always, my pitcher pool is much smaller because I don't think we have to get as creative. Pricing isn't as tight, and also the gap between top pitchers and lower tier pitchers on that site are more extreme for the most part. So let's dig in here a little bit. At the top, we get the obvious chalk and Joe Ryan on this slate. Hasn't been spectacular. He did have a 12K performance against Detroit. Did give up 3 runs. Thankfully, one was just earned, but he's given up 3+ runs in 4 straight starts. Not ideal for the most part. His last start did come against this White Sox squad, which resulted in his second best DraftKings performance on the season. K prop of 6.5, juice on the over. He does have the highest K prop on the entire slate for what it's worth. I assume a pretty strong favorite, even though he is on the road. Minus 166. That's strong enough. Game total 7.5. I think that's tied for the lowest on the slate. Yep, tied with the Atlanta-Seattle matchup. So, Joe Ryan, the definitive chalk at first glance. I don't think much is going to change there. He should end up the highest owned. Nick Lodolo, Case have come down each of his 3 starts. I don't really love those trends, but uh, I don't mind taking pitching against San Diego overall. We just got away with going really heavy on Ranger Suarez against San Diego, and it worked out phenomenally. Um, the game's a pick 'em right now. Total of just 8, so nothing too big. I think his K prop is 5.5. Yep, it is. Uh, top 5 or 6 in K prop on the slate. So I'm a Lodolo fan. Got plenty of him best ball wise, just because he fell so far because of his injury status coming into the season. So uh, I will certainly be using Lodolo on this slate as well. Ryan Pepiot or Pepiot. Yes, I don't know if it's pronounced either way, but has looked pretty solid in 3 of his 4 outings for Tampa Bay. Had an elite performance in Coors, which you don't really expect, but is taking him on a Milwaukee squad that I think has overachieved a little bit offensively. Um, Coming off of a rough series against the Yankees. Pepiot does have a K prop of 6.5. Juice is on the under, but a 6.5 K prop is pretty strong. It's a slight underdog. Uh, the game has the second highest total on the slate. Yeah, tied with Toronto and Kansas City for the second highest total, behind the Dodgers and Diamondbacks. So uh, I'm going to use Pepiot. I'm not going to focus too much on going heavy. I will have him in my pool, but depending on what his ownership is, this is one of those spots where I might end up going underweight, which is something I rarely do. Uh, for those that are newer, I point out that my pitcher pool, I try to keep it to around 8 pitchers on a main or slate. And what I do is I aim to go over our projected ownership on all of them. Once in a while, there's guys that are carrying a bunch of ownership that I just don't necessarily agree with. So I might go half the weight, but I do keep them in the pool, especially on the slate. If I had some stronger options, I may look to fade somebody like Pepiot, but we're gonna use him. Definitely not gonna use Bryce Miller. I don't care. I know a couple of the Cleveland pitchers were decent against Atlanta. I'm just not gonna get in the habit of using pitching against Atlanta. They are going to wake up at some point, so I just don't think it's going to be a spot for Bryce Miller. He's made some really strong starts this year. Uh, I understand could be a dumb decision, but he is an underdog at home. K prop of 5.5, choose on the under. I think I feel okay going with the fade on Bryce Miller. Max Fried, couple of strong starts, a couple of really bad starts. Going with the complete game last time, I'll get in the extra day of rest, but it was just 92 pitches, so pretty strong performance. I think I'm going right back to Max Fried, K prop of 5.5. We do know that Seattle does strike out a little bit. Minus 155 favorite, so I think Fried is a strong option. Uh, Leaning towards a fade on Garrett Crochet. Um, Reason being, he just hasn't looked good the last few starts. Last one did come against this Minnesota squad. Minnesota is scorching pitching right now. I think they've won 7 straight, maybe 8 straight, um, or 8 out of the last 10, something like that. So, averaging like 8 runs per game over that stretch. So I don't really feel the need to pick on Minnesota, especially with a guy that I think kind of hits a wall a bit. You're talking about a guy that's been a reliever and dealt with multiple arm injuries since basically skipping the minor leagues after the draft a few years ago to pitch. So I just don't think he's this guy right here, especially that was against Atlanta. This guy against Detroit did strike out 10 in Cincinnati, but struggled. Like, I think he's going to randomly have some games, especially when he gets some extra rest at times. But this is a new territory for him, so I have no issues going with the fade, to be honest. Uh, I know he's going to carry some ownership. People are going to pick on Minnesota because of their strikeout ability. His K prop is 5.5 with juice pretty solidly on the over, but just not for me on this slate. Christopher Sanchez is somebody I will be using. He let us down the last time out, but only one of those runs was earned. Prior to that, had an elite performance against Colorado. Uh, Used some pitching against the Angels with the Twins, even though a couple of guys weren't all that great. Sanchez's K prop of 5.5. He's a minus 142 favorite. Game total is 8.5 though, but I think Sanchez makes more sense to me than Garrett Crochet does. These two pitchers here taking on each other, I have to debate Severino and Taillon. Um, Taillon's the underdog. Severino a minus 130 favorite. Looking at the K prop, Severino 5.5, Taillon 4.5. Severino juice on the under, Taillon the juice on the over. I think I lean more towards Taillon, uh, but I kind of have to think about it. Severino's been solid enough. Tyon, obviously, just two starts into his season, has been decent. Severino shown more K ability this year, but man, I don't know. I'm sure one of them, if not both of them, will end up in my pool, but uh, just not sure which one to roll with. Uh, and really, they probably both should be over Yariel Rodriguez, but I'm gonna go back to Yariel. K prop of 4.5 seems low, but we just never know what we're gonna get. Minus 142 favorite. I like his ability. He just needs to work on not throwing so many pitches per inning. Uh, go a little deeper. I don't know. Maybe I'm just mesmerized by his actual ability, but really, I think if I was smart, which I probably am not smart, I would remove him from my pool and just use Severino and Ty on both. But we'll kind of see as the day goes on, as I dig in a little bit more, etc. The only guy, actually, it might be two guys down at the bottom that I'm kind of considering right now. Bailey Falter, even though I don't really want to chase that last performance against the Brewers, he's somebody that, at times I was really intrigued by when he was with the Phillies. So getting to face Oakland, I'm interested. I will be stacking Oakland a little bit because I don't mind them against left-handed pitching, but I think Falter is pretty solid. He's given up just 4 runs over his last 4 starts. So, uh, you know, sometimes his Ks aren't there. Um, actually, most of the time. So I don't expect him to approach 8 every start, but I'm interested. And the other side of that matchup, Joe Boyle, big time arm, just doesn't necessarily know where the ball's going at times. A lot of walks, but he can throw out some shutdown starts out there. And we know that Pittsburgh has had some struggles. Uh, Not a super dangerous offense overall, and the park's a solid pitcher's park. So Boyle, I think, is going to kind of be a last man into my pool. So it may come down to Boyle or Yariel being a guy that I remove to add back, Severino or Tyon. So there we have it. There's a first look at pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, optimizer, Discord, etc., I'll put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's RAZ, for 10% off monthly. And as always, best of luck, everybody.